It's not another Buffalo podcast, hosted by three of the most underqualified sports personalities this side of the canal. With Jon.
There's no way in hell that I can leave that in, right?
You don't think so?
Well, to quote Rage Against the Machine, what better place than here? And, what better time than now?
And Brando.
We have this trust built on, whatever it is, like Bibles and gold bricks and whatever Brandon Bean's drinking over there.
All right, welcome back to Not Another Buffalo Podcast. I'm Jon. I'm here with my buddy Brando here on Tuesday afternoon. We're going to get Pat on later tonight, so... if you heard it was just the two of us and Pat's your favorite guy, don't worry. He's coming on
be here
in a little bit.
Don't leave.
He's on dad duty today during the afternoon.
Yes.
So anyway, it's just the two of us. You can find us on all platforms at Not Buff Podcast. Brando was at this game.
Woo-hoo.
Let's just take a second. AFC Championship again.
We're back.
The very
like we've never been there. Like we never left.
What year did we start this podcast?
Was that year? No, the year after that, because it was 13 seconds.
That. Yeah.
So this is our fourth season.
Right. So
crazy.
Farthest we've been on the podcast, right? The first time making it out of the divisional round podcast official.
I was just telling the story. I did the
257 episodes in.
Yeah. I did the episode after 13 seconds in Kansas City's airport.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So. Tons of logistical hurdles that we've hopped over on this show to make
it work.
That
worked well.
We're hoping we're going to be technical difficulty free today. It's been a wild ride the last few weeks. So yeah, fingers crossed. Brandon, don't touch your mic.
I'm not touching anything.
That's good. So tell me about the game. What was it like? The atmosphere? Obviously, you see the scenes on TV, but that's nothing like being there. So give me the rundown.
Cool. The snow, again, I love the snow, how it moves into the stadium as the game is approaching. So the weird thing that happened is we all got, when you get the Amber Alerts on your phone and it's like, it just sounds
you guys got a lake effect snow warning, right?
Everybody's iPhone, it's early. The gates might have just opened. So we're talking like 4:30, 5 o'clock. We just hear these crazy sounds going off and we all look at our phones and it's warning, lake effect snow warning, cold temperatures could go through Wednesday. And we're like, oh boy, here we go. So I called my mom. I was like, you got the Weather Channel on? I don't know. I can't get anything here. It's not making sense, but it's just coming down. And it was getting wetter as it was getting colder. It was turning more into flurries, but the field was green when I sent you the picture of the field.
Yep.
And you saw as the game went on, it got pretty white as the, line blowers are out there making sure that there's field access or field view for the Chris Brown's call of the game and Tony Romo and Jim Nantz and everything. But that was cool. That kind of set the tone early. And as these fans are coming in, it was just electric. Everybody was so happy. And I always like talking to the opposing fans when they come. Are you from Baltimore? Did you come into Buffalo for this game? Yada, yada, yada. Everybody's nice. I've been that fan many times where I'm going to other cities and people are jerks and people are rude and they make obscene comments. And I've been very lucky in my experiences that I've been treated well. So I always try to return the favor to fans coming here. And Baltimore fans are pretty cool. I did see a couple videos of some tiffs between fans, but nothing near me, which was nice. And
nothing as bad as I'm sure what we saw on Twitter and other social media this week.
I don't know where these things happen. The thing about, and I can't wait for the new stadium. I'm not going to get off on this too much, but our seats kind of suck because they're super close together. Everybody's piled on top of each other. And then when you're not in a specific seat and you just have the bleacher seats, anybody that's bigger than 5'10", 180 pounds, you get a bunch of people lined up in all this layers of gear. You're like 4 seats from where you're supposed to be, but then there's 4 other people pushed over. So it's just sardines together. And most of the time it's fun because it's your buddies and the season ticket holders that you've sat with all the time. But sometimes people sell their tickets to opposing fans and then you get 2 Ravens fans in the mix of stuff. Or you got me in Arrowhead as the only Bills fan in the whole section with middle schoolers heckling behind me whose dad is flipping me off. The kids are being more respectful than the dad was being. Anyways, I digress.
You digressed, yeah.
I digested that and digressed it. So this game was really cool because there's something about watching the action in person where you see things a little differently because you can see the route trees. You can see how the defense is lining up a little bit better than you can in TV view. The interception from Lamar, man, was a terrible throw. The wide receiver wasn't even close. Taylor Rapp's playing like right field, and I remember seeing him leave the ball leaving Lamar's hand. I'm like, there's not a receiver over here that is open. And I'm like, this could be an overthrow of the interception even because of how far back he was. But Taylor Rapp read it perfectly and he stopped. And I'm like, we got it. And like, that was cool. There's a few plays that Josh is looking for the deep ball. And it's like, he wants it. It was the same thing in Denver. And I've noticed it so much more this year, which is we're talking about the growth of Josh Allen. We can get into that after we talk about this. But he's not taking them. And my view is that he's covered. Like, Bills receivers covered. Don't throw that ball, Josh, even though you're dying to throw this ball. And he checks it down to James Cook, and they get 5 or 6 yards. Or he checks it short to the crosser over the middle or the out route, whatever. But there's plays. The Bills do a good job, and it's interesting to see Joe Brady design the offense. That they have a lot of deep shots. Like, that's the first read, is to get the deep ball open for Josh Allen. And I think this is a huge part in his success of not turning the ball over so much, is these little motions that Khalil Shakir does. It's to see who's guarding him, right? Is the safety going to follow him? Is he on a linebacker? And on that first throw to him over the middle, the defense is in the too high safety look. And Shakir does this little motion thing.
A lot of Tampa 2 this game.
And it's like, that's where you attack the field. But it was such a great throw because I knew from where I was 3 seconds after that ball snap, Shakir's open. Like, and Allen throws it perfectly. And it was like, that was cool to see Josh's thought process on that. And he read the defense. He made the check. Boom. Deep pass, explosive play. We score. So you need to have those things. And to see Josh grow, that's where his growth is, right? In the pre-snap, line of scrimmage, decision making. And we have an outcome like we have on Sunday night. So it was really cool. The funniest part was the second half energy turned on a dime, right? You go 3 and out so fast. Everybody felt nervous. And I think the Mr. Brightside that played at the stadium this Sunday was like
it wasn't until late in the fourth quarter, right? Did they not play it during the third and the fourth quarter?
No, you don't. It's not played until the end of the fourth quarter when it's like locked up, right? When like that's a signal of victory for the Bills.
Okay.
On the team. So
I was going to say, so when I was there, they did it between the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah,
like,
that was
right?
a blowout,
like
right? That game that we went to?
Yeah, well, they had it in hand by that point, and I think they did that during the Broncos game because the Bills pretty much had it in
every game
by that point.
They don't play it.
And so there's just been so many games where they've wrapped it up by the time the fourth quarter starts.
Exactly.
So I thought that it was just standard there. So that's cool that they save it for that moment because you don't want to be tense and going on Mr. Brightside. But
no,
I feel like that song,
that's what happened. That's what happened is what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's like a release of tension. But I don't know. I think that song is perfect because it's like, I think the reason why that's, sorry, not to go into this here.
No, go ahead.
The reason why that song hits so good is because like, you know what it's about, right? No matter what happens, everything can suck. And like, I'm still looking at the bright side. And that's like the post-drought Bills. It's like, you can throw anything you want at us. Like you can throw all the pain. We've had post-drought pain that was more, that was tougher than the actual drought pain. 13 seconds, all these games. Who the F cares? Like we got it. We're embracing it. That's our fan base. We're going to get through it. Go effing Bills. Yeah. Like we have Josh. So I don't know. I just think it's perfect.
It is perfect. I love this song, and we've compared these lyrics to our lives, to what's happening in the real world. But it really is, it's like you're coming out of your cage, you break the drought. We're doing just fine. We maybe win the divisional playoffs. You got to get down. We got to get bounced off from a lateral and Josh Allen. And then it's like jealousy, turning snakes into the sea. Okay, we didn't get Mahomes, and now this dude is killing us. Choking on your alibi, 13 seconds. It's just the price I pay. We had to go through this. But destiny is calling us now, and we're opening up our eager eyes at this opportunity we're one game from the Super Bowl. So let's go get it. And Josh Allen is such a happy-go-lucky quarterback. It's like, he's Mr. Brightside. It's perfect. It fits this team perfectly. It is funny that the Bills are claiming this because like Michigan did it first. This is just done all over the country. Right?
It doesn't matter who does it first. It matters who does it the best.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's good.
Nobody remembers Bob Dylan's version of All Along the Watchtower. Like,
no, that's funny.
That's a Jimi Hendrix song if you're thinking about it. So I don't know. But this is the kind of lyrical breakdown that you're not going to get on any other Bills podcast. So thank you, Brando.
So, but the whole point of this was that Mr. Brightside was the most nervous one that they've had at the stadium. Like people were uptight a little bit, and to see McDermott not stick his foot on the throat of the Ravens here to get the double dip and say what you want about it.
So I need to see a replay. I think that Josh was down inside the one on that run. He falls forward. He's not sliding. I think the ball touches down at like the 1 and they bring it back to like the 2 for some reason.
Interesting. Isn't it the start of the slide? The start of the slide.
Exactly. But he wasn't sliding. It looked like he either tripped. It didn't look like he was sliding.
I kind of thought he did it on purpose.
I thought he did too, but I don't know. I couldn't tell if it was. I need to see like an ultra slow motion replay of it to tell. But
in my head, it's like, well, this guy's got a big brain. He's thinking about killing this clock down here.
I know. I was applauding it. I was like, this is great. You know, you want to score the touchdown and take time as well. But no, I mean, obviously the way that all panned out was super effing stressful. Like I should put up a Twitter poll. How many years did this game take off your life? Like, I don't know if you felt the same in the stadium because you're worrying about other things during it, but like this was tense. This was not like I mean, there were moments in this game where, you know, I'm jumping off my couch and Pat sent us a hilarious video.
That was great. That video was
Pat
great.
Pat sent us a hilarious video of his security cam footage, which is so funny. The funniest part about that video. So it's like, he sent it because it started recording because it said like, abnormal sound recorded or something like that. And the funniest part is he jumps off the couch and his significant other jumps off the couch and they're jumping up and down as silently as they can because their baby's asleep in the other room. So
my favorite part was watching the cat stretch. Like cat was out like a light too. And he's like, what's going on? Yeah.
It was so funny. But yeah, no, I'm doing that same thing where I'm jumping off the couch. I mean, multiple times. Last game, what I did was I jumped off the couch and I slammed my heel backwards underneath the lip of the coffee table. And I'm pretty sure, like, you ever see like an Achilles heel statue where like you hit the heel and the whole statue falls? That's what I felt like because I slammed my heel so far.
Talk to Aaron Rodgers about it, man. He'll give you some tips.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll probably give me the best treatment there. But
the nervous energy.
It was tense. It was so tense, and it was not an enjoyable game to watch.
It's the whole part about it is, and I feel like this has taken time for me to get to this point. Is you watch these divisional games, there are all of these moments in every game in the divisional weekend. Always, without a doubt. It's why we said earlier this is the best weekend of football. Because, you know, the football's a 60-minute game and every team had some crazy second half thing happen after the first half. You know, you're sitting comfortably in the first half. No, just kidding. It's a divisional round. And to see my buddy, I told him I would talk about this on the show. My buddy, Andy, texted me. He's like, well, give me a score prediction. And I said 28-24, or I said 28-23 Bills. Don't be nervous. Just ride it because it's going to be crazy. He texted me back after the game. He's like, that was pretty close.
Yeah.
Of your prediction or your score prediction. And I was like, see, don't be nervous, man. Don't be nervous. It's fine. Even though I'm like sweating beads down my face just during this game when it's 0 degrees outside. But the guy that I was standing next to, we were chatting a little bit when the dilemma of do you go for it on 4th down at the goal line? Or
I think it was the right call. I think it was the right call.
Yeah. Well, that's what he was saying. And he's like, kick it. Don't even think about it. He's like, kick this ball. He's like, if you're only going up 7, go for 2. He's like, if you're going up 6, go for 2. But he's like, going up 8, kick the field goal. You cannot lose. And he's like, that's McDermott, man. He's like, 8 points here means he does not lose the game on this possession. And I was like, okay, he sold me. And then we're walking out and, you know, Mark Andrews drops the ball and I'm jumping up and down like super high. And he looks at me. He's like, that's why I kicked the ball. And I was like, do you coach? You should. But he was really funny. You know, just a nice guy. But
even, I know this has been well talked about already, but when the Ravens throw that ball to the end zone and score that touchdown with 1:33 left, I'm like, that's all right. That's all right. You know, my significant other's next to me is like, oh no. And I'm like, no, it's all right. They left enough time. They scored too quick. I was like, I was so excited because I was like, I stood up and went, they left too much time for Josh. Yes. And I'm like always watching the other side of that, right? Yeah. But
you just have the stadium play, there goes my hero. But no, you didn't have to. And it's so funny. Everybody's blaming Mark Andrews for dropping that, but I don't think it was a good play design. They did the exact same play against the Steelers, and it turned out the exact same way. You have a very, very large man. The ball's on the right hash, rolling out right. You're cutting the field in half. He is backpedaling at full speed, and that ball comes out just a little late because of the pick play that the Ravens ran on their concept to get Mark Andrews open. To turn your body full speed, backpedal backwards, catch the ball and try to turn into the end zone. That is super difficult. And let alone on a wet field and a cold night like that. I don't think you have Derrick Henry, man. It's the same thing with the freaking Seahawks a few years ago. Let Marshawn Lynch run the ball and they didn't run it on either one of their 2-point plays. I figured after they messed up the first one, Derrick Henry would get the second one or run a read option or triple option. Run an option, man. You have the best option offense in history ever. You have 3,000 yards rushing between your quarterback and your running back, and you're running a little pick route pattern to the goal line with a huge tight end who's had a tough game, who won't put a shirt on even after he fumbled the first time. So whatever Vaseline Mark Andrews used, get a sponsor here in Buffalo, man. Like, you show up here, help us out, whatever. But I don't think Mark Andrews should get all the hate. I mean, I kept thinking if Dawson Knox dropped this, like, we'd be burning his house down, not theoretically, because that's terrible, but like, we'd be upset with him. As Tyler Bass missed his kick last year, people were upset with him. But I think
shout out Tyler Bass for being clutch in these playoffs so far.
We talk about that kick too in a second, but the hate on Mark Andrews is just that's such a hard play. And it's like so easy to trip your feet up. It's why you do the karaoke footwork in the warm up. It's why you do these hip transition drills forward to back. And
so you say that's a tough catch, but I still feel like he makes that catch 9 times out of 10, right?
Well, I've seen him drop it twice. They showed a clip of the exact same play against the Steelers, and he did the exact same thing. It's having your back to the end zone and having to turn. That's the hard. Like, don't set up a play like that. I mean, they're NFL players. They should be able to do it, but
yeah. Well, he was wide open too. Like they got the look that they wanted. So yeah, I don't know.
But that Tyler Bass kick was scary, man. I don't know how it looked on TV, but it looked like it only had a couple more yards of clearance in person.
Well, on TV, you see it come off his foot and you just assume it's not going to be short if it's less than 56 yards, right? Like, and it was cold out, but that was like a clutch kick. Like, Tyler Bass is really good at kicking in cold weather, with the exception of last year's playoffs, right? But, he's been so solid, and obviously, that's the difference. 2-point game there could look a lot different at the end. And obviously that might have changed the Bills' decision on that drive, opting to kick that other field goal. Yeah. But I don't know, man. Hats off to him.
Yeah. Big time hats off to him. And can we talk about this for a minute? We're talking about kicking in the cold, playing at Highmark, the snow. To go 10-0 at home in Buffalo, man, what an outstanding achievement that is for this team, for this franchise. And all of these years we've talked about, the Bengals game, the snow slowed us down, and the barely winning the Colts game, which again worked out in our favor. But all the weather, the hurricane game against New England, the house that Josh built does not support Josh, right? It doesn't have a dome. The new stadium that's coming. So to say F it all and go win anyways. And this is the part that I have the discussion about the two quarterbacks here. We're talking about legacy and Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson. One quarterback did not look affected by the cold. One quarterback did look affected by the cold. One quarterback had 2 rushing touchdowns. One quarterback had 2 giveaways that led to 10 points. That's it. Say whatever you want about anything else. We're not damaging the Ravens' legacy here. Lamar lived into the legacy that he set for himself previously. I am not hating on the guy, but he had 2 major turnovers, and they were talking about hand size on WGR earlier. Lamar Jackson's 9.25-inch hands are below league average, and DeMar Hamlin, I mean, he did it. Like, he got the ball out there, and Lamar just dropped it.
I thought you were going to give me DeMar Hamlin's hand size.
No, Josh is like 10.25, so he's above average. And but Lamar played into
breaking news: Josh Allen is above average.
Yeah. Oh, who knew? But
hand size.
I thought Lamar Jackson had the chance to do it, and he didn't play terrible, but he gave the game away, and Josh Allen didn't. And that's enough to, in the playoffs, separate the margin of victory. And the credit should go to Josh Allen for being the 21st game ever in a row without losing this turnover battle. And that's never been done before. He's never had this sort of security. And the Bills have an all-time record since the year 2000. It's like 4% of turnovers on plays total. It's like the lowest mark ever. And
yeah, you're talking about Josh Allen in the playoffs has turned the ball over at the lowest rate since
it's been ever tracked. Yeah, since
I was going to say, yeah. So
he
turns the ball over on less than 4% of plays or something like that.
I believe it's something like that. Yeah, I can't get it on my phone here.
So while you pull that up, let me ask you this.
I can't pull it up here. Sorry.
Okay. All right. We're just going to have to trust Brando on that one. It's historic. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So let me ask you this. I give you that DraftKings $13,000 bonus bet again. Would you bet? You have to choose on whether the Bills will win the turnover battle this coming Sunday or not win the turnover battle this coming Sunday. You have to pick one side or the other. They've done it for 21 straight games. Do you pick them to do it again against the Chiefs, who protect the ball in the playoffs just about better than everybody?
Well, let me tell you something real quick. And I just read this from Matt Warren, our previous Buffalo Rumblings cohort. The Chiefs have not turned the ball over since November 17th against the Buffalo Bills. The pick from
was it
Bernard, yeah. Terrell Bernard's interception is the last turnover the Chiefs have had on offense. So
was that the only turnover they had that game?
They had 2 turnovers that game. They had 2 interceptions and maybe a fumble. I don't know if that's true or not. But the Chiefs have not turned the ball over since that game. And it's like a movable object meets a movable force here with the turnover battle. I wouldn't bet it, man. You're asking me to do it. I bet you it's a clean game.
Unstoppable force, immovable object.
So you know what I'm saying?
Immovable force, immovable object. You know,
I don't think you bet it. I don't think there's going to be a turnover in the game. You know, and it's crazy to see the Bills defense be able to create them in the playoffs. We worried about that drying up. We talked about that a little bit. Is this defense that is not very good? They let Lamar complete 7 of 10 on third down and gave up 7.5 yards per play. They did not force a punt, and they still got the ball 3 times more than the Ravens did because they forced a turnover. So I would guess it's a clean game on both sides, and it's going to be man on man. Who's better? And unless there's a strip sack or a tipped ball, or maybe like a Greg Rousseau knocks it down again and does something like that, something fluky. But I don't think it's going to be an error on the quarterbacks that's going to lead to a turnover. But I'm not betting that, John. I'm waiting. If I've got 13 grand, I'm not betting that.
I said you had to bet it. This was the theoretical. You have to pick. Will they win the turnover battle or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Only because I'm a homer. There's no stats to support it. It's me emotionally betting, which is not a safe way to sustainably win bets.
What do you mean? No, that's the best way. That's the most fun way. No, I'm just kidding. So we had this debate last week where you thought that the Colts might have favored the Ravens because they have Derrick Henry, and I argued that the Bills would have the upper hand because of it's the Bills. Would you
tip in my hat?
All right. I was going to say.
Well, that goes right back to what we were saying earlier, how important this home field advantage was for the Bills. We were prepared for it. They were not. Whether they practiced outside or inside, whatever. When the rubber hit the road, Lamar Jackson dropped the ball that he had 2 hands on, and he threw a wildly bad interception. And Mark Andrews, the ball was covered in grease for him. So whatever you want to say, man, I give you credit for saying that because the Bills didn't have that. The Bills didn't have that problem. So
yeah, and that's what we expected because we've seen performances put up by them in the playoffs in that weather. Yeah. Now we've seen lackluster performances too in that weather, but I think that we didn't really chalk that one up to the weather. Although they were kind of on skates for that game inexplicably against the Bengals there. But
yeah, well, Curtis Samuel had a nice catch that went for a first down, and it was like you knew the zig route was coming. It was coming back to the sideline, and he slipped and he got up fast enough to still get open. And I was like, it was right in front of me. I'm watching the Baltimore defender. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, he's going there, but you're still in slow motion. So like maybe the Bills did that cleat modification where they put the little bit longer cleats in there and the Ravens didn't. I know that happened at one point in a game. But yeah, just big shout out. And then we did have a crowd assist as well. There was a nice little, I think it was, who was it? Somebody came into blitz. Taron Johnson was coming into blitz, and it really was a delay of game because they didn't get the ball off. It got loud. It was really cool. I've never been, I mean, that's not true. Those first 2 playoff games when we made our first run to the AFC Championship, I was like on cloud 9 to be there. But I think this year, that was
COVID year though, too.
Yeah. So. And to be part of the 6,000 fans that made him mess up was like, yeah, we did that. But to be a part of collective group for everybody to have a moment where Von Miller, big man running with the football. Like not everybody got to see Taron Johnson's pick 6, but people got to see Von do that. And people got to see the interception and people got to see the splash peanut punch from Bernard. It was just as good. There was legendary moments that happened in this game. The fans got to see it. The fans got loud. Delta Sonic gave 17 cents off a gallon because we hit 100 decibels in the stadium. So that was cool. It was loud. It was rocking. It was great. And shout out to everybody that took part of that.
Nice. Well, that just reminded me. I forgot to thank our sponsor at the top of this episode. So I want to give a big shout out to Small City Realty. If you're looking to buy, sell, or manage property in Western New York, call our guy, Zach Korzelius, at 585-409-1088 or contact him at Zachary at smallcityrealestate.com. I'll have all that info in the show notes if you forget it. Also have any links to any houses he might have listed. I think that house in Albion might still be available if you want to contact him for a free tour. Again, 585-409-1088 for buying, selling, or if you need help with property management in Western New York, our guy, Zach Korzelius, he's the absolute best. Love that guy. Everybody loves that guy. And thanks for sponsoring the show, Zach. So
Yes, thank you, sir.
So I want to point out something too. You reminded me of Von Miller. I don't know if you can see I don't know if you've ever seen these religious-like looking candles with, sorry, I'm doing this backwards trying to point here.
That's the one you got with all of them, right? There's a few players.
Yeah. So you see him so I have Josh, Stefan, and Von Miller. So Von Miller was in timeout for a while. He was in the corner. I had the candle down there. Yeah. And after Stefan Diggs got traded, we were down to just Josh for a second. So now it's Josh and Von Miller is back to the table here. Stefan Diggs is on bathroom candle duty, unfortunately. So that's where he's at. But just want to give the candle update.
He's a free agent, man.
He is. So
maybe come.
I forgot about that. Only 1 year contract with the Texans.
Yeah, I would love it if he came back.
During the offseason, we need to go down the rabbit hole and do the math. Not the math, but just surmise how this offseason would have looked differently if the Bills had won that divisional round game against the Chiefs last year. Because that's definitely a game where you kind of flip maybe 1 or 2 plays and you could, I mean, it's just crazy, the branches of history that would change because of the outcomes and stuff like that. And last night, honestly, that's why I was this game was a weird win for the Bills because a lot of stuff didn't go their way, but more stuff did. That was coin flip stuff. A Tyler Bass 51-yard field goal, the pass interference on Tre'Davious White, which honestly
Coleman and Trey.
There were some bad calls the other way too. Deion Dawkins non-existent hold. But
those two calls were the only 2 bad ones I thought. And outside of
there were some other pretty rough ones, but those were the main ones.
I don't think the Bills had another penalty. I want to say they had a really clean game.
But yeah, so anyway, I don't know. When I saw Trey's face on that pass interference, my heart sank. I missed that guy. I wish that guy was still playing at an all-pro level and on our squad. But
Bills had 1 penalty for 10 yards, and it was a Deion holding call.
Really? That was it?
Mm-hmm. And again, you want to talk about taking care of business, man, and who is better. We're circling it all the way back to Lamar and Josh, but 1 penalty for the Bills. Ravens had 5 for 43, no turnovers. Ravens have 3. We get 10 points on turnovers. We hit our kicks. That's all the difference. That's the razor thin line. And those are things that we had not done before. And you want to sit here and hammer Josh Allen for not being as good as Mahomes or hammer the Bills for being a second fiddle against the Chiefs. The Bills have committed those errors and been in these games and lost, and the Bills are getting hammered for it. So to not have those errors, we might lose that game against the Ravens 7 out of 10 times as not as good as a team. But that night was our night. This is our night. So they did it, and they played a great, clean game, and that's the difference. And that's a well-coached football team, the Bills, to do that, I think. I think this is a feather in McDermott's cap here. Yeah.
Well, speaking of McDermott, I don't know how I want to phrase this question because it's super interesting to me. But, kind of the conversations around most of the fan base is, and offense in general in the NFL, that, it's pass and stop the pass is today's NFL, right? That's how you win. That's how a lot of these teams have done it. Obviously, we've seen a little bit more of a regression to, not a regression, but transition. It's kind of swung a little bit the other way where rushing has really been important these past few years. McDermott has always wanted to be balanced, to the point where we're complaining about how much they're running the ball when they're not successful at it. And obviously they've been running the ball even more than that these past few weeks, especially, and this season in particular. But because of the success rate, we're not complaining about it because it's been effective. So this is this balance that they have, and even I don't even want to call it balance because it's actually run heavy. So it's balance and then some. Yeah. It's kind of McDermott's dream. Yeah. Right? Yeah. This is McDermott's dream scenario.
Finally, after 8 years.
Even though you don't punch in the touchdown there at the end, you ground down the clock. You ran. I mean, they had some stuffed runs that led to that 3 and out, which was not fun. But for the most part in this game,
He checked
these
into that
two rushing defenses that they've just faced are the two best rushing defenses in the NFL, and they put up their worst performance against the Bills the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
So the Bills are doing Bill Cowher's got to be out of his mind right now. Like
Mike
looking
Tomlin.
at these, Mike Tomlin, they're looking at that. There are tears running down their face because of the playoff team that's having success running the football so much. And they're like, this is going to confirm everybody's biases who says that, if you can't run, you're not going to win in the playoffs, right?
Yep.
Which is not always true. But, okay, so say the Bills put up another similar rushing performance and without sans a Josh Allen hero performance with over 250 passing yards, right? Mm-hmm. And they head to the Super Bowl off of those 3 games where Josh Allen doesn't have to be Superman. They have an awesome rushing offense, and that's the ticket to the Super Bowl. Do we deserve to let McDermott sit back and say, I told you so? Like, obviously he wouldn't say it, like theoretically, like
probably. Do we have
to like fill out an apology form for all these years for being like balanced schmalance?
Yeah.
Right.
I think
was he right?
It's the personnel though. You coached your personnel, and we have not had 2 good tight ends. Maybe our O-line is not as good previous years. So Brian Daboll's sitting here like, we are scoring 35 points a game when we throw the ball 40 times, Coach McDermott. I don't care if this is what you want to do because this is more successful. We need to do this because we're not capable of doing that. Devin Singletary's not hitting these holes like James Cook. Matt Breida's not doing shit, man. So whatever that conversation was like in there, I think there's such a leg to stand on for both guys on the argument, because that Bills team lost the games when they tried to be balanced. They lost, and Brian Daboll can be like, see, coach, told you. But now McDermott can be like, okay, I got a good O-line. My O-line in that touchdown run that you posted a video on, you got McGovern freight training his way in there just to push Allen over the line. You have guys pulling with speed that this O-line has not seen before. You are manhandling 2 very good defensive lines leading into this.
Spencer Brown is being an absolute menace on the field.
And to get him on a contract.
Getting to linebackers and stuff like that.
Dude just gets a new contract and is like, okay, it's a bargain now because he would make $20 million 7 weeks later after he signs this new deal. So $5 million more in 6 weeks.
Another round of applause for being on that one.
Yeah, and then it just
mid-season.
You look at how that was built, and you pieced it together when you got here with Morris, and and now it's drafted Alec Anderson, right? And you got Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins, and you made it work, and they're being coached up by probably
Aaron
one
Cromer.
of the best position coaches in the game, period, as an O-line coach. And he was a former head coach, right? He knows the game. He knows
Aaron Cromer.
I want to say he was a former head coach.
Maybe
served as the interim head coach of the New Orleans Saints for first.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Interim head coach. There's the asterisk.
There's the asterisk. He did it though. He did it. So, yep. But McDermott, I think it just takes a long time to build the roster that you want in every way possible. And this still might not be it, but he has the key pieces in the places that he needs to run this system. And
who would have thought that this offensive line was going to be better than last year's? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the day they cut Mitch Morse, we're all like, oh, geez, that was probably the biggest surprise cut of this offseason.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that they just would become this force? And because I think that they went into the same game plan. You know how we talked about, are these playoffs going to be different? And we were like, yeah, they're going to go in with a different game plan. It's not going to be as balanced. They're going to break out Josh Allen. They're not going to be trying to shove the ball down people's throats and play ball control. And it's like, no, it's the opposite. They're doing the same thing as last year, but they're actually way better equipped to do it.
Yeah.
And they have mostly the same people when it comes to the offensive line. Like, you got another year of O'Cyrus Torrence. You got Spencer Brown, who's having a career year. Obviously, Deion Dawkins is having one of the best years of his career as well, which you can kind of expect from him. Sorry, go ahead.
The most important name here that we also aren't talking about is the growth of Josh Allen, who is able to throw the ball where it needs to go on schedule. And you talk about what is different going into this Kansas City Chiefs game. Diggs drops the ball 3 times. That was a big deal. The open receivers Allen left on the table because he's forcing it. That he's not done that once this year. We talked about it earlier in the show. Allen is hitting Diggs underneath for that first down in that before the field goal kick this year. Like, he's making that play this year. He did not make it last year. He was going for the touchdown. But so many times in person, you watch this man, eyes up, down the field. He's like, he starts that hip rotation and he turns and pivots to drop it off low. So just to have this maturation of your quarterback to match with the studs of the O-line, Allen is so hard to get sacked. He's so fast and so mobile. It's just a perfect puzzle piece of destiny is calling them to win this game. So
and there it is. There's the
full circle. But it gets me excited, man, because they did play the similar style, man, against the Ravens, and they got the bounces, but these bounces were manufactured. They blitzed 46% of the time. Sean McDermott, Buffalo Bills defense, blitzed, and it caused 2 turnovers. And that was, they had always did what they've always done, and they always got what they always had gotten, and they did something different. I love that quote. So fitting for this Bills team, and they did something different. So what are they going to do against the Chiefs that is different? And I think it is all, like you said, it doesn't have to be massively different. They've almost beat them every time except the AFC Championship game the first time.
Yeah. So we'll see what kind of McDermott masterclass comes out for this Chiefs game. Largely, they have not been able to stop the Chiefs in the playoffs. Like even last year where they're trading blows at a much slower pace than they normally would, where it's not like high flying offense down but it was like, who's going to blink first? It was like 6-minute drive, 7-minute drive, 6-minute drive. Oh my God, we're halfway through the third quarter and they've only had the ball 4 times.
I want to say the Chiefs put together like a 12-play, 10-minute drive in that game in the playoffs.
Maybe multiple times too. Yeah. Like, so it's going to be that kind of game. I feel like, this might be a 24-20 type of matchup like they usually have. Or I think there's a little possibility that the Bills put up 31, get up early. And I don't know if they get up early, the D gets a couple of stops like they did against Detroit. I think that could play out if you make the Chiefs one-dimensional as well.
But it's an interesting argument here because everything that we said going into this Ravens game can be said about the Chiefs going into this game against the Bills. We got their number last time. We beat them by 2 scores. They were missing Hollywood Brown. It was in Buffalo. The team was, reeling through these close games, looking like they just didn't have enough. Travis Kelce, taking the season off when he needs to and just shows up and puts up 120 yards in week 1 of the playoffs. But the Chiefs are healthy. They are well coached. They're at home. They have reinforcements. So that makes me a little nervous, but I think that it's a playoff game. Anything can happen. And to see these 2 guys write another chapter in the story, man, this is going to be quite the documentary when these guys hang them up. And
I hope so.
Yeah. But we got to get one.
You got it. I mean, I feel good about the game and about the matchup. Probably less nervous than I was about the Baltimore matchup.
Yeah.
But the implications of losing are like even worse for this one because you're right back at the drawing board. Like we said, when we were talking about Baltimore or Buffalo, it's like one of the teams is going to get the chance to get the monkey off their back. They're not going to do it just by winning in the divisional round against each other. They got to go beat the big one. And I think they're set up to do it. But the frustrating thing is it's like, they probably beat the Chiefs 7 out of 10 games. But what day are you going to get the Chiefs on? Which game is it going to be? Because the Chiefs always are the team that finds a way to make sure it's their best game and your worst game or something in between. And they play the kind of game that the Bills just did against Baltimore. And they always, turn out results for that reason. So
to be fair, if they play 10 times, the Bills have beat them 5 and the Chiefs have beat us 5. Historically speaking.
Well, that's a lot of different teams. I'm saying this year and stuff like that when they're 1-0. So
John, I was thinking about this when we're talking about these 2 teams, and as a sports fan, I like history, right? I like dynasties. I like win streaks. I like all-time great players doing all-time great things. And this reminds me a lot of the Warriors-Cavs LeBron Curry rivalry here. And it takes me to the season LeBron got one, right? LeBron gets one. He beats the greatest team ever assembled in the regular season of the Golden State Warriors.
Down 3-1, right?
Down 3-1, and LeBron got one because of his greatness. And we have struggled against the Chiefs in the playoffs as LeBron did. LeBron was great in those losses, right? And Allen has been great in these losses. To see this team show up and get one. You are good enough. You are historically good quarterback. Josh Allen is historically good quarterback. The LeBron comparisons are so interesting because we made excuses for LeBron when he loses to the Cavs and make excuses. It's okay. He's great. Josh is great. But no, you got to put it together here eventually. And LeBron gets there with maybe not his best team that he'd ever had around him. He's not on a super team. I mean, he has Kyrie and Kevin Love, but he's playing a damn good Warriors team who have the wins record. And this Chiefs team is 17-1 right now. So this is kind of comparable. And you got
17-1, not versus the Bills.
Well, no, just the season. Just the season.
No, they have 2 losses because they lost to the Broncos, but that was their backups. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, asterisk.
So, okay, 17-2, right, or 16-2, whatever it is. So
yeah.
This is still a historically good team in the regular season. And the Bills have a chance to do something in their home field in Arrowhead to go in there and upset them. And Josh, it's time to show that these historically great players get it done. And this is Josh's turn to show that he can get it done.
Well, speaking of that matchup and one of the advantages the Chiefs could have with home field advantage, obviously the officiating crew is always of some interest here. So
do you have this?
I pulled up this article from Warren Sharp of Sharp Football Analysis. Anyway, the whole Chiefs ref thing, I usually I get mad about it, obviously, when I'm watching, but I try to explain it away to myself. Like I chalk it up to recency bias or confirmation bias. And, most people know what that is. But if you don't, confirmation bias is just like when you see a call and you have an opinion on something, you remember the calls that reinforce your opinion and you forget the ones that don't. Right. And so obviously with the Chiefs calls, with some of these roughing the passer calls being egregious, it's easier to remember those versus the opposite. So Warren Sharp was cool enough to do a little deep dive on this statistically and found that in the regular season, there's not really a huge advantage for the Chiefs in penalties necessarily. It kind of mirrors the statistics of most good, experienced, well-coached teams where they have a slight advantage, but you can kind of chalk it up to, well, this is a disciplined team. This is a well-coached team.
They wear red gloves, but they play red jerseys. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All that stuff. So do the referees favor the Chiefs in the playoffs? All right, Brandon, I want you to guess here. In their last 11 games in the playoffs, so this goes back to 2021, how many times did the Chiefs have more penalties than their opponents?
2.
0. 0 times the Chiefs had more penalties than their opponents. Now we can, chalk that up to, okay, well, maybe they're well coached and, ready for the moment, but that's not the case in the regular season. Yeah. It's not that there's not that much of a discrepancy. So the total penalties across those games, it is 36 for the Chiefs compared to their opponents, 66.
Almost double.
Double difference there. So the Chiefs' opponents commit twice as many penalties as the Chiefs do in playoff games.
And 90% of those games, I think there's 2 of them that are not in Arrowhead, right? And it's last year.
So 9 out of those 11 games are at home, I believe.
It's crazy.
All right. So you could also chalk that up to, okay, maybe it's false starts. Maybe it's, it's Arrowhead and stuff like that. So let's look at some specific penalties, right? How many total roughing the passers were called on the Chiefs in 11 games? So how many did they commit? Called on the Chiefs.
In 11 games?
Yeah.
4.
1.
Oh, my God.
1 roughing the passer penalty in 11 games called against the Chiefs compared to the opponent's 7. Now that was a little bit less than I thought, but a 7-to-1 ratio is pretty crazy when you're thinking about it.
So we're looking at 75-yard difference there.
Yeah. So let's look at another one. How many total defensive pass interference or holding grouped together were called on the Chiefs in those 11 games?
6.
3.
Oh my God.
Compared to the opponents, 11. Oh God. So
what are we doing here? There's broken data on this. Why is this allowed? I don't understand.
Broken down by EPA, the Chiefs have 18.84 expected points added as a result of these penalties.
I hate it.
Now, how many? 8 of those 11 games were decided by 1 score or less. So you do the math on that. Those of you out there. So
it's almost 1 extra possession a game.
My question, yeah. So this is my one question that I have out of this. Is there a safe and secure exit for officials at Arrowhead Stadium? Or
No.
is this a tunnel thing where there's no safe way for them to go out without, going by fans?
At Arrowhead, man, they have a fully stocked bar. They get buffet food. These refs are treated like kings when they go to Arrowhead.
This is inexplicable to me. Like, did they feel unsafe? Like, what is it about Arrowhead that's too much to chalk up to? Oh, the Patriots I'm sorry. Yeah. See, Freudian slip there. The Chiefs are just too good to get penalties called out on them. So I'm not going to go so far and, say like
it's rigged.
Right. The NFL is not scripted. It's not rigged.
No.
We've seen some documentaries. Inherent bias is usually the cause of this stuff.
It exists. As a referee, I did a whole project on this in school, and it was more on basketball refs because it's super prevalent in basketball because the coaches can work the officials in basketball more. It's
absolutely
a big part of my job. And being the home team ref gets calls 57% more of the time than an away team. Just because you're in the crowd feeds off the energy. Refs control momentum of the game. But in football, there's real data to this. You just gave us legitimate information that should be noticed. And I think because Mahomes has really milked this and now starting to do this slow down bull crap where he takes the penalty, the whole world is on notice about this dude being a clown and a half. And I'm not going to go into him too much about that because it is a good football play, right? I mean, it's not a good football play, but like it's one of those things Bill Belichick's telling you to do. It's like one of these things that Andy Reid's like, you got red gloves on so you can hold their jersey. They're not going to see it. It's one of these unwritten rules that the slimiest of slimies that go any way possible to win the game will tell you how to do. And the interesting part about it is I think if you put the two quarterbacks next to each other and you talk about toughness, like Josh Allen has flopped many times, but Josh Allen also runs over Kiko Alonso and he's running over linemen and he's stiff arming these guys. And Mahomes' toughness comes from playing through injuries and getting a 60-yard run and, my ankle, like that clip that we have. And then he comes out and runs for the touchdown next. So, I mean, I feel like the toughness level, it's good for Josh Allen that Mahomes is being such a little baby. Like, stuff him in a locker here, Bills. Like, don't let this happen. Get ahead. Take the refs out of the game completely. Get a lead. Take them out of the game. No excuses. I don't want to hear about it afterwards that the Chiefs got 0.7 points per drive added because the referees came here and threw flags on the Bills. But I do have from Built in Buffalo here.
Before you get to that, I just want to before we get to that, I just want to say that the official for this game is not that scary. It's Cleet Blakeman.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay. I was sorry. Yeah. I didn't mean to.
No. Built in Buffalo. They put together a nice graphic here.
Cletus W. Blakeman.
Yes, he serves as the head referee. The past 5 years, Buffalo hold a 5-2 record. Chiefs are 3-4. This year alone, the Bills are 5-2. Chiefs are 3-4. So I think it's pretty fair.
Do you think the NFL intentionally made that way rather than choosing a ref like the one that the Chiefs got last week?
Jefferson is on their payroll, man. They're 7-0 this year. I guess working Chiefs games. I think you take a look into it. There's somebody in an office somewhere in the NFL. We've talked about this NFL hypothetical building that they're getting coffee in the break room and they'll be like, can you believe that Mahomes got that roughing the passer call and Jared Goff looks like he dislocates his jaw from a crown of a helmet and no call there in the exact same night, like hours apart, and the whole world is ripping us a new one. Like, what do we do to fix this, guys? I don't know. What'd you do this weekend? I played ball with my kid. What are these lunchroom conversations like in the NFL headquarters room?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it matters. Somebody looked into the part that Charles Jeffers is 7-0 in Chiefs games, and you just found the data. And I think if more people are going to publish this data, give us more Warren Sharp here. Come on, cover these teams. Do one on the Bills. Let's see it. Let's see one on all these good teams. How much does it matter to be a good team to get the calls, right? I mean, I think it does matter always. It matters. Yeah. It definitely
There's
matters.
Some bias there, but I don't know. If I'm the NFL, not that this has anything to do with it, I don't believe that the NFL goes into meetings with officials and says, well, if it's 50-50 guys, lean towards this team. I don't think that there's any of that going on. But if you were the NFL in this case, haven't you really set up the Chiefs as the heel here? Because you'd want the Bills to go to the Super Bowl. I feel like the ratings would, not that there's actually a comparable difference because this is the biggest, worldwide televised event, or at least in the United States.
It's the biggest in the United States. Like
United
soccer
States.
and cricket blow it out of the water.
I forget. Yeah.
By like quadruple.
Right. Right. Which is crazy. But
it's so crazy.
I don't know. I think people have Chiefs fatigue. I think casual fans as well as hardcore fans of the NFL have Chiefs fatigue. And like Chiefs Eagles would not be a. No. I mean, that's just I don't even want to watch that game. No. Yeah, there's nothing interesting about that. Whereas like Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels, that is
like one of the more on fire.
That is one of the more intriguing matchups of the last 15 years for sure. So take that for what it's worth.
The way that this NFL should go, man, right? You're talking about rigging games. You put the Bills in Washington in the Super Bowl in Louisiana, and you see what happens to everybody around here. You watch the jersey sales for Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen, and what a great conversation that would be, right? It's like the young Josh Allen here. Jaden Daniels looks real good. So it's exciting. I think, I'm ready for this game. I'm bummed I can't go. I don't want to wait all week to watch this game, and I just trying to enjoy it, man. This is the week, right? Yeah. These are the times that we live for this show, for our jobs, in Buffalo, and it's just so typical here that we have this massive storm right after we got Monday off the Bills game. Everybody's home celebrating. Then we get a nice little blizzard here, and it's cool. We get a little extended
for the people who don't have to go to work, of course.
Yeah. Well, and then typical Buffalo fashion, I got my car parked outside. Sorry, I'm just complaining about one thing real quick. I got my car parked outside. You got to move it
for the snow removal?
They did not remove any snow at all, right? My car's covered in snow last night. But guess what's in my car door when I got up this morning? A parking ticket. Not a single plow goes by on any of these neighborhood streets, but they're nailing us, man. They're nailing us. So anyways, I digress.
But anyway, I need to tell myself to enjoy this game because I definitely did not enjoy. Like, it was not an enjoyable experience. It was a nerve-wracking, high heart rate, not so good experience like watching this Baltimore game. Obviously, the finish was ecstatic and stuff like that. But so like I didn't crack a beer until after the game this past time because I was like, you need to save that in case you need it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't know if that'll be the same thing this week, but it's going to be high nerves. And I don't know. I need to mentally prepare. Maybe I need to do some exercises of watching Travis Kelce shimmy in the end zone because if I see that happen, it's going to take all of my will not to throw a glass at the TV because like that's just him and Mahomes might be two of the least likable people that I know in the NFL, all of the NFL.
What a character development that they've had, man. To go from these young upstarts.
Yeah.
People like them, lighting up the world. Your first season, you're winning MVP. You're not a rookie really because you sat behind Alex Smith, but you come in and you throw 50 touchdowns. Like that's a cool story. They're must-watch TV, and now how they've kind of transitioned into this, we're winning slimy games by slimy outcomes, and the refs impacting the games as much as they do, and we're getting these timely plays, and it's annoying. It's super annoying. Give me something fun to watch. Give me, what do they have? Like, what do they have, man? They have a good coach. They got a quarterback that makes no mistakes. So it's going to be a great game. Yeah. And I'm ready for them to lose.
Yeah. And we haven't seen a lot of it, but when they have lost, you kind of really see who people are when they lose and stuff like that. Yeah. We saw this with Tom Brady refusing to shake Ryan Fitzpatrick's hand.
Careful, man, with where you're going here. We're going to hear about this.
I'm just going to
little baby Patrick Mahomes, like being the worst sport of all time.
He is. Yeah. It's terrible. And I get it. People who compete at the highest level and are obsessed with it and elevate to that level, it's because they're petty. But it's like, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not trying to criticize somebody's character here. Like, now throwing stones.
I am. I'll do it. That's fine. Because
throwing stones in a glass house. Like I'm sure Patrick Mahomes has raised a lot more money for charity than I ever will be able to in my life. But still, it doesn't help me from not being super annoyed every single time that dude does anything, because I know how he acts during the losses. I know that he's not sportsmanlike. I know that he couldn't even just go up and shake Josh's hand after
that was
the
worst call I've ever seen.
That was the worst call I've ever seen.
So
it's super prevalent in my life, man, because these kids that I work with every single day, and I have a good group most of the time, but all they do is complain about calls. And I'm like, well, Pat Mahomes does it. I'm like, if you say that one more time, I'm going to send you out of here. Like, I don't care. I don't want you to argue foul calls with referee basketball. It's not okay to act like that when you lose. You lost. You were not good enough. You go and you do better. You do not yell at the refs because you ran an illegal play. You messed up. You deserve a consequence. You make a mistake. You're such a bad example for everybody in the world. And you just sit here and it's just so annoying. It's so annoying.
I would post that as a clip, but I know there'd be Chiefs fans that would just be like, cope.
I am coping. How do you think it's okay? Just a spoiled little kid who is good, who gets his way, and then he doesn't, and he has a meltdown. Like, what are you doing, man? Just play the game like every other player on the field, every other coach at every other level from any town in this country has to deal with the same crap that you do, and you're making $60 million a year to sit here and out the refs the way that you have. It's so annoying. You can't shake Josh Allen's hand and say good game. You have to say that was the worst call I've ever had. That's the first thing out of your mouth when a quarterback beats you. You have to make an excuse. Like, that's just so, it shows exactly the type of character that you got.
It might be the most Brady-esque quality about Patrick Mahomes that we've seen so far, right?
I think Brady is so much different the way that he does it, man. Brady is complaining about things that are in their control. He's complaining to his O-line. He's complaining about his receivers running routes. He's complaining about, how inflated the balls are, whatever. Like, he's not making excuses about the refs. He's not making excuses about anything. He's trying to fire up his guys. There's such a difference between being a constructive leader with your teammates and just complaining at the refs. It's so toxic to any sort of culture. Sorry.
All right. Well,
Fires me up.
You're good. You're good. I know I can get that down to like 30 seconds. Maybe.
It's just so annoying. It's so annoying.
We'll
it's
see.
so prevalent in my day-to-day life too. It's just,
yeah. No, I get it.
that's why I'm so thankful for Josh, because he's so good about everything.
We love Josh. Josh is the best.
Until he like throws the Gatorade cooler at a ref this weekend, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
But even last week,
did you see that clip of Josh in the locker room where he started clapping before McDermott is done with his speech? Yeah. I probably watched that on repeat about 13 times and laughed my butt off every single time. It's so funny. He's such a little golden retriever. Yeah. Well, a big golden retriever, obviously. But anyway, let's get a break in here. We still have more to go here. I know we're a while in here, but we're going to get Pat on for another episode. Or I don't know. Should I release this as an episode?
I think we should do that. I think this is
release this as an episode real quick. I'll see if I can get this out this afternoon, and then we'll be on with Pat. That will come out probably tomorrow morning. So we're looking at like Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, maybe for a release time for that. We'll release a couple episodes this week. We have no schedule. We have no obligations. We are our own thing now. So we're enjoying it. Free falling, more like it. But anyway, another shout out to our sponsor, Small City Realty. If you're looking to buy, sell, or manage property in Western New York, call Zach Korzelius 585-409-1088, which again, my head thinks is my own phone number now when somebody asks for it at the store, which is really funny. That happened to me again today at the pharmacy. So that was fun. But we're going to get out of here. We'll be back with Pat momentarily. Again, that episode will come out maybe 12 hours after this one does. So we're putting out all the content we can this week. Follow us on all platforms at Not Buff Podcast, Instagram, TikTok, which is already back, by the way, and YouTube Shorts if you want to follow our YouTube channel on there too. Also, if you like the sweatshirt that I have worn for every single episode for the last 2 years,
looks great.
We have a affiliation with Homage hoodies and apparel to announce. So if you like this hoodie or anything like that, if you like vintage Bills gear, it's literally the softest hoodie that I've ever owned, and it's stayed the softest hoodie I've ever owned for the last 2 years. Super durable, hasn't shrunk on me. It's literally the best. We'll have an affiliate link in the show notes if you want to check out that. Obviously, if you make a purchase, we get a tiny little kickback on that, which obviously always helps out the show. So if you're looking for some new Bills gear, you need a new Victory Monday hoodie to wear for next week, there's still time to order it and get it. But again, we'll have that link in the show notes if you want to check out Homage at homage.com. So with that, we'll be back with Pat in a little bit here. And until then, go Bills.
Go Bills.